The story begins on a lonely beach where the wreckage of dozens of robots is scattered across the shoreline. These robots belonged to Universal Dynamics, but their cargo ship was caught in a violent storm and crashed into the ocean, leaving the robots stranded on a remote island. Out of all of them, only one robot is still fully operational. At the same time, a family of playful sea otters comes ashore and starts exploring the robot wreckage. While playing around, they accidentally activate the surviving robot. As soon as the robot powers on, the frightened otters dive back into the ocean. Since the robot was designed to help humans, she politely introduces herself. "My name is Rojum Unit 7134. How may I assist you?" Before anyone can respond, a huge wave crashes into Roj and carries her far down the shoreline. Moments later, she notices another massive wave rushing toward her. Trying to escape, Roj attempts to climb a nearby cliff, but climbing isn't part of her experience. Just then, she spots a tiny crab effortlessly making its way up the rocks. Carefully observing its movements, Roj copies the crab's technique and successfully reaches the top. From the cliff, she sees a vast forest stretching out before her. Believing she might finally find someone who needs her help, Roj walks into the wilderness. Inside the forest, she encounters animals of every kind. One by one, she politely asks, "How may I assist you?" But instead of answering, every animal panics and runs away. A little later, Roj notices a beaver gathering logs in a nearby river. She approaches and offers to help, but the frightened beaver quickly flees as well. Roj spends the rest of the day approaching every animal she can find, but none of them are willing to speak to her. Eventually, she realizes the problem. If she wants to communicate with the animals, she first has to learn their language. Roj activates her learning mode and remains completely still for days, recording and analyzing every sound in the forest. After processing thousands of animal calls, she successfully learns their language. Confident that things will be different now, Roj approaches the animals once again. "My name is Rojum Unit 7134. I can help make your lives easier." Unfortunately, nothing changes. The animals still don't trust her, and they all run away. Realizing that nobody on the island needs her help, Roj concludes that she's lost and decides to return to the Universal Dynamics factory. She climbs onto a high cliff and activates her return transmitter. But before the signal can be sent, lightning strikes the transmitter. The powerful blast throws Roj off the cliff, temporarily shutting down her entire system. When she finally reboots, she discovers that a group of curious raccoons has stolen several of her body parts and is playing with them. Roj calmly retrieves her mechanical arm and optical eye before sending the raccoons running. However, one clever raccoon grabs her return transmitter and disappears into a nearby cave. Determined to recover it, Roj follows the raccoon inside. Unfortunately, the cave belongs to a massive grizzly bear. The bear immediately attacks, forcing Roj to run for her life. As she races through the forest, she crashes into several trees before tumbling down a steep hillside. The impact damages multiple internal systems, causing several of her components to malfunction. When Roj gets back on her feet, she realizes she has accidentally landed on a goose's nest. The mother goose is gone. Most of the eggs have been crushed, but one egg has somehow survived. Roj scans it and confirms that the embryo inside is still alive and perfectly healthy. Just then, a clever fox named Fink snatches the egg and tries to make off with it as his next meal. Roj quickly stops him. Fink attempts another trick, but this time he accidentally falls onto a hedgehog, leaving his entire body covered in painful quills. Although Fink had tried to steal the egg, Roj still helps him by carefully removing every quill from his body. Helping others is exactly what she was built to do. Embarrassed, Fink quietly walks away. A few moments later, the surviving egg begins to crack. Roj gently tries to support it with her mechanical tentacles, but the shell finally breaks apart. A tiny gosling hatches into the world. Watching the baby take its very first breath brings something completely new to Roj, a feeling she has never experienced before. However, goslings are born with a unique instinct. The very first creature they see after hatching becomes their mother. So naturally, the little gosling believes Roj is its mom. Roj gently places the baby on the ground and tries to continue her journey. But no matter where she goes, the gosling follows her. She tries everything she can to lose him, but the tiny bird refuses to leave her side. Still determined to return home, Roj activates her return transmitter once again. Before the signal can be sent, the curious gosling pecks at the transmitter and accidentally destroys it. Now Roj is completely stranded on the island. Confused by the gosling's behavior, Roj soon meets an opossum named Pinktail, who is traveling with her 7 babies. Roj places the gosling beside Pinktail, hoping she will take care of him. Instead, Pinktail smiles and asks, "Is this your baby?" Roj immediately replies, "No, he's interfering with my mission." Pinktail explains that goslings instinctively imprint on the first living creature they see after hatching. Whether you planned it or not, you are his mother now. Roj responds, "I do not wish to become a mother." Pinktail gently smiles. Nobody knows how to be a parent at first. It's something you learn. She then explains that if Roj wants the gosling to survive, she must complete 3 important tasks. She must teach him how to eat, how to swim, and most importantly, how to fly before winter arrives. Because once winter comes, every goose must migrate south. If this little gosling can't fly, he won't survive the freezing season. The moment Roj receives a new mission, lights begin glowing all over her body. For the first time since arriving on the island, she has a real purpose. Now Roj has 3 objectives to complete. But there's one major problem. She doesn't even know what goslings eat. So she starts offering the baby random objects, hoping he'll eat something. Watching everything from a distance is Fink. He finally approaches Roj and says, "I'm something of a gosling expert. I can help." Roj looks at him suspiciously. "Weren't you trying to eat him earlier?" Fink smiles. "I'm a fox. Being sneaky is in my nature. But you helped me when you removed those quills, so now I'd like to return the favor." Of course, Fink isn't being completely selfless. While teaching Roj how to care for the gosling, he also manages to find plenty of food for himself. As time passes, the little gosling finally learns how to eat properly. Roj proudly completes her first mission. One day, Fink asks where the gosling came from. Roj quietly explains that an accident caused the death of his entire family. And ever since then, the little one has been living with her. Now only 2 tasks remain: teaching him how to swim, and teaching him how to fly. Fink grins confidently. Teaching him to swim is easy. My mother taught me the exact same way. Before Roj can ask what he means, Fink suddenly grabs the little gosling and throws him straight into the water. But Roj knows the little gosling isn't ready to swim yet, so she quickly pulls him back out of the water. Seeing this, Fink says, "This gosling is defective. Even if his family had survived, he probably wouldn't have lived very long. I was only trying to spare you the pain of losing him later." Before Roj can react, Fink swallows the gosling whole. Without wasting a second, Roj forces Fink to spit him back out. Then she firmly says, "If the gosling dies, my mission cannot be completed." Fink sighs before giving Roj some advice. "If you really want to keep him alive, you'll need to build him a safe home. Otherwise, sooner or later, another predator will eat him." Realizing he's right, Roj immediately begins gathering logs and branches from the forest. As the days pass, the little gosling also starts learning how to speak. However, he struggles to pronounce Rojum. So Roj smiles and tells him, "You can just call me Roj." The gosling happily repeats the shorter name. Soon afterward, Roj begins building their new home, and the little gosling eagerly helps in every way he can. Within just a few hours, they finish building a warm and secure shelter. Once the house is complete, Fink suggests that the gosling deserves a proper name. Being a robot, Roj initially chooses a very robotic name, 0001. Neither Fink nor the gosling likes it. Fink laughs and says, "A name should feel personal." After thinking for a moment, Roj finally chooses the name, Brightbill. This time, everyone agrees it's perfect. That night, Fink tells Brightbill a bedtime story. He speaks about a lonely little gosling living on a tiny island with no family. The gosling wished upon the brightest star in the sky, hoping someone would send him a mother. As luck would have it, Roj was listening from that very star. And that's how she found him. As the story comes to an end, Brightbill slowly falls asleep. Roj also powers down for the night. Time begins to pass. Little by little, Brightbill grows bigger and stronger. But because he has been raised by a robot, he behaves very differently from the other geese. He walks differently, he talks differently, and he even thinks differently. Because of that, none of the other young geese want to be his friend. Feeling lonely, Brightbill becomes sad. To cheer him up, Roj imitates different forest animals, making him laugh again. Soon, it's time for Brightbill's swimming lessons. Roj, Brightbill, and Fink arrive at a nearby lake. Roj carefully explains how he should move his wings in the water. Even so, Brightbill is terrified. Without warning, Fink gives him a gentle push into the lake. At first Brightbill panics. But following Roj's instructions, he starts moving his wings. Slowly but surely, he learns how to swim. Roj proudly completes her second mission. However, Brightbill swims much farther into the lake than expected. Worried about his safety, Roj extends her mechanical arm to keep an eye on him. Out on the water, Brightbill notices several other geese. Excited to finally meet birds like himself, he swims over to introduce himself. One of the geese immediately recognizes him. "You're the gosling raised by that monster, aren't you?" Within moments, more geese surround him and begin mocking him. Watching everything through her extended arm, Roach quickly rushes to Brightbill's rescue. The geese scatter the moment they see her. But suddenly, a dangerous barracuda bursts from beneath the water and grabs Brightbill. Roach races to save him, but one of her legs becomes trapped between two rocks. The barracuda drags Brightbill deeper into the lake. At the last possible moment, Roach stretches out her mechanical arm, strikes the fish away, and rescues him. Still shaking, Brightbill asks, "Why did it attack me?" Before Roach can answer, the flock of geese returns and begins insulting him again. Embarrassed and hurt, Brightbill turns to Roach. "Mom, let's go home." But one goose shouts, "That monster isn't your mother. She's the one who accidentally killed your real family." Every animal in this forest knows the truth. Hearing those words, Fenk loses his temper and charges toward the flock. Roach quickly stops him before anyone gets hurt. Meanwhile, Brightbill is devastated. Unable to process the truth, he becomes angry with Roach and walks away. Roach tries to follow him, but her damaged leg has become much worse after getting stuck in the rocks. Watching from a distance, the beaver finally realizes that Roach truly cares for Brightbill like a real mother. Later, the three of them return home. Since Roach's damaged leg can no longer function properly, she removes the broken section herself. That evening, Brightbill quietly asks about his real family. With sadness in her voice, Roach finally tells him the truth. "When I first arrived on this island, I accidentally caused an accident, and your family died because of it. I never meant for it to happen." Brightbill lowers his head. "Why didn't you tell me sooner? I trusted you. I thought you were my mother." Roach sincerely apologizes. "I'm so sorry. It was never intentional." But Brightbill's heart is broken. "If my real mother was still alive, maybe I'd be just like the other geese. Maybe I'd already know how to swim and fly." Roach gently encourages him. "You swam very well today. If you keep practicing, you'll become an excellent swimmer." But Brightbill refuses to believe her. Still heartbroken, he walks away. For the first time, Roach feels genuine sadness. After spending so much time with the animals, she has begun developing emotions of her own. Later, Roach returns to the beach where she first activated. Among the wreckage, she discovers the remains of several other Universal Dynamics robots. She reactivates one of them. As soon as it powers on, a pre-recorded company presentation begins playing, explaining that Universal Dynamics builds intelligent robots designed to help humans and become their trusted companions. Roach then activates another robot and names it Rummage. The robot immediately says, "Ready for my first assignment." Roach replies, "I need your help. The mission I'm trying to complete feels almost impossible. Something inside my system has changed, and I no longer understand how I'm making decisions." Roach explains that all of her decisions used to be processed by her head unit, but somehow, those same functions are now being handled by the processor in her chest. She doesn't understand how that's even possible. After running a quick analysis, Rummage explains, "You have an Alpha 113 processor. It's one of the most advanced processors ever created. It contains an enormous amount of human knowledge and was specifically designed to understand and solve human problems." Roach quietly replies, "I'm taking care of a child. Before winter arrives, I have to teach him how to fly." Rummage then performs a complete diagnostic scan on Roach. The scan reveals that Roach has modified her own operating system, causing it to function in ways it was never designed to. Rummage looks at her and says, "You should return to the factory. They can repair you." She hands Roach her return transmitter. Moments later, Rummage's battery is completely drained, and she powers down for good. Holding the transmitter, Roach climbs to the top of a nearby cliff. A few moments later, Fenk joins her. Looking disappointed, Roach says, "I've made everything worse. This isn't my world. I should go back to the place where robots like me belong." She slowly raises the return transmitter toward her head. But Fenk quickly stops her. "You can't leave before finishing what you started. Besides, how do you know the world you are trying to return to is any better than this one?" Just then, Fenk notices a flock of geese flying across the sky. He turns to Roach. "We need to teach Brightbill how to fly as soon as possible. We are all he has." The two of them head back to Brightbill. Unfortunately, Brightbill has already lost hope. Looking down at his small wings, he asks, "Do you really think I'll ever be able to fly?" Roach answers with confidence, "If you want to survive, you have to learn. Only then can you return to your world, and I can return to mine. At that moment, another flock of geese flies overhead. Roach carefully scans their movements and begins using their flight patterns to teach Brightbill. Despite trying over and over again, Brightbill can't get off the ground. The other geese laugh at him. Roach encourages him to run faster, but her damaged leg gives out, causing her to collapse. That night, she clears every rock from a long stretch of ground, creating a smooth runway for Brightbill to practice on. Meanwhile, the beaver, who once feared Roach, finally decides to help her. Using a sturdy piece of wood, he repairs her damaged leg. Roach sincerely thanks him. The next morning, training begins again. This time, Roach gives Brightbill a stronger running start. He finally lifts into the air, but only for a few seconds before crashing back to the ground. Realizing they need professional help, Roach and Fenk decide to find a real flying instructor. They travel to the mountains, where a legendary eagle named Thunderbolt lives. The following morning, Thunderbolt arrives to train Brightbill. He smiles and says, "Never let your small wings convince you that you can't fly. My wings aren't the biggest either, but they've carried me across the highest skies." From that day forward, Thunderbolt teaches Brightbill everything he knows: how to catch the wind, dive through the air, turn sharply, and stay balanced during flight. Brightbill practices every lesson with determination. Day by day, he becomes an excellent flyer. Around the same time, the leader of the geese, Longneck, comes to visit Roach. He says, "You've raised Brightbill like a true mother. You deserve to be recognized for everything you've done." Roach asks, "When does your migration begin?" Longneck replies, "1 week from now." Concerned, Roach asks, "Will Brightbill be ready by then?" Longneck nods. "If you keep training him every single day, he'll be ready. And honestly, if it weren't for you, he probably wouldn't even be alive today." After saying that, Longneck flies away. For the next several days, Roach works tirelessly. Day and night, she helps Brightbill improve until he finally masters flying. Before long, migration day arrives. Roach walks Brightbill over to the waiting flock. Longneck addresses everyone. "It's time. Our journey begins today." He then turns toward Brightbill. "I've watched you fly many times. You are an impressive young goose. Would you like to join my flock?" Brightbill happily accepts. Longneck realizes Brightbill is still struggling with his feelings toward Roach, so he quietly tells him, "Roach gave you a second chance at life. She protected you, raised you, and helped you become who you are today. The same accident that took your family also brought you the mother who never stopped caring for you." Those words stay with Brightbill. For the first time, he truly understands everything Roach has done for him. In his heart, he finally accepts her as his mother. But before he can tell her, it's time to leave, the flock begins taking off. Brightbill walks over to Roach. "I'm leaving now. When I come back, will you still be here?" Roach quietly answers, "Probably not. I'll most likely be back at the factory." Brightbill's eyes fill with sadness. Then, "Could you give me one last running start?" Roach smiles. She gently lifts him onto her shoulder. Fenk steps forward with a grin. "Remember, don't try to fly like everyone else. Fly your own way." Brightbill smiles back. "Thanks, Fenk." Roach gives him one final push. Brightbill spreads his wings, soars into the sky, and joins the rest of the flock. Watching him disappear into the clouds, Roach smiles with pride. At last, she has completed her third and final mission. Winter soon arrives. Roach sits quietly on a hill overlooking the island when Fenk walks over. Roach tells him, "You'll be able to survive here on your own now." She explains that she's planning to return to the factory. Fenk asks, "Do you really have to go?" Roach pauses before answering, "I don't know, but the people who created me probably expect me to return." Fenk smiles. "If you stayed, we could have a lot more adventures together." After a long silence, Roach asks, "How do you know if you love someone?" Fenk thinks for a moment. "You have to let them know. Otherwise, they may never find out." Looking toward the sky, Roach quietly says, "But it's too late now. Brightbill is already far away. How could I ever tell him?" Fenk gives a small smile. "I wish I knew the answer." He returns to his den. Roach walks back to her home and uses her laser to carve a beautiful portrait of Brightbill into the wall. Then she climbs onto a towering cliff and activates the return transmitter. Almost instantly, the signal reaches Universal Dynamics Control Center. The company immediately begins tracing Roach's location. Meanwhile, Brightbill continues flying with Longneck's flock. Even though he's finally living the life he dreamed of, something still feels unfinished. Noticing the sadness on his face, Longneck asks, "What's on your mind?" Brightbill quietly answers, "There was something I wanted to say to someone, but I never got the chance. Longneck looks at Brightbill and says, "Sometimes, the things we never say out loud still find their way to the people who matter." Maybe. Roj already knows how you feel. After many days of flying, the flock travels hundreds of miles from the island. But suddenly, the weather takes a terrifying turn. Dark clouds roll in, violent winds begin to howl, and a massive storm blocks their path. The conditions are too dangerous to keep flying. Longneck immediately orders the flock to land. Below them is a huge Universal Dynamics agricultural research facility. The geese quietly land in a large cornfield where dozens of service robots are tending the crops. Longneck whispers. No one makes a sound. We stay hidden here until the storm passes. A few moments later, Brightbill notices a robot working in the field. For a split second, he thinks it's Roj. Excited, he runs toward it. But within seconds, dozens of additional robots surround the field. The unexpected arrival of an entire flock triggers the facility's security system. Warning alarms begin blaring throughout the complex. Panicked, the geese scatter in every direction. Longneck repeatedly shouts, "Don't panic! Stay together!" Brightbill tries to calm everyone down. "Don't be afraid. These robots won't hurt you." Longneck shakes his head. "You grew up with a robot, Brightbill. That's why you trust them. The rest of us don't." Just then, several catcher robots activate and begin chasing the flock. Brightbill immediately takes charge. He tells everyone to follow him and guides the entire flock toward a safe escape route. Watching Brightbill protect everyone makes Longneck incredibly proud. But just as they are about to escape, one catcher robot locks onto Brightbill and prepares to fire. Without hesitation, Longneck flies directly into the line of fire to protect him. Back on the island, Roj suddenly wakes from sleep. She can't explain it, but she feels that Brightbill is in danger. At that exact moment, Fenk walks into the shelter. The two are surprised to see each other. Fenk smiles. "You are still here?" Roj nods. "I turned off my return transmitter." She then asks, "Why are you still awake?" Shivering from the cold, Fenk replies, "This storm is unlike anything I've ever seen." Roj looks outside and realizes every animal on the island must be struggling to survive. She immediately says, "We have to help them." Fenk sighs. "Most of them hate me." Roj calmly replies, "That doesn't matter." After a brief pause, Fenk agrees. Together they head into the storm. They rescue a skunk first. Then they save one animal after another. Roj rescues Thunderbolt, Beaver, Pinktail and her children. She even saves the family of otters trapped in the freezing ocean. Finally, she rescues the enormous bear and brings him safely back to the shelter. But once everyone is inside, a new problem begins. Predators and prey are trapped together in the same room. Everyone is ready to attack each other. Meanwhile, Roj's battery is almost completely drained. She quietly tells Fenk, "Now it's your turn." She sits down to conserve the last of her energy. Fenk steps into the middle of the room and shouts, "Enough!" The shelter instantly falls silent. He looks around at every animal. Yes, we all hate each other. But if anyone walks outside tonight, they'll freeze to death. And if we keep fighting in here, we'll all die anyway. He points toward Roj. Because of her, every one of us has another chance to see spring. His voice becomes emotional. You all spent months calling her a monster. But she's the one who built this shelter. She's the one who saved your lives. And all she ever wanted was to raise one little gosling. He continues. None of you ever accepted Brightbill. Yet today, we are alive because of everything Roj did. The room becomes completely silent. Even the bear slowly nods. As long as we are in this shelter, no one eats anyone. Then he lies down and falls asleep. One by one, every animal follows. Several weeks later, winter finally comes to an end. The snow melts. Sunlight begins recharging Roj's solar cells. She powers back on and runs outside. At that same moment, Brightbill returns home with the entire flock. Seeing him again fills Roj with happiness. But she doesn't approach him. She worries that seeing her might only bring back painful memories. So she quietly walks away. Meanwhile, Fenk runs over and hugs Brightbill. Brightbill smiles proudly. We made it. I brought everyone home safely. Fenk looks around. Where's Longneck? Brightbill's smile disappears. With sadness in his voice, he explains that security robots from Universal Dynamics attacked them during the journey. And Longneck didn't survive. A moment later, Brightbill asks, Where's Roj? Fenk softly replies, She stayed here, because of you. Brightbill immediately rushes home. But Roj isn't there. Meanwhile, Roj returns to the stone platform where she first activated her return transmitter. Suddenly, A massive Universal Dynamics dropship descends from the sky. A sleek new robot steps out. Her name is Vontra. She smiles politely. I'm responsible for recovering and repairing damaged Universal Dynamics robots. You are extremely important to us. Out of the 6 robots that disappeared, you are the only one still functioning. Roj calmly replies, I was simply completing my task. Vontra looks confused. There aren't any humans on this island. So, how were you completing your mission? Roj pauses. It's a little difficult to explain. Vontra smiles. That's exactly why we are here. She begins escorting Roj toward the dropship. Just then, Fenk comes running. He shouts, Roj, Brightbill wants to see you. Roj immediately stops. Without thinking, she jumps off the loading platform and runs away with Fenk. Vontra's expression instantly changes. She deploys dozens of catcher robots to capture Roj. Within moments, the entire island unites to protect her. Every animal joins the fight. Roj battles beside them, destroying one catcher robot after another. For a moment, it looks like they've won. But then, a massive explosion shakes the entire island. Vontra activates her heavy weapons and launches a full-scale assault. The surrounding forest erupts into flames. Amid the chaos, Vontra finally captures Roj and drags her aboard the dropship. Watching this happen, Brightbill leads the entire flock into the sky and races after the ship. Inside the dropship, Vontra begins erasing Roj's memories. Roj desperately begs her to stop, but Vontra ignores every word. Vontra looks at Roj and says, You are about to begin a new life, but before that, we need to extract every bit of data you've collected on this island. That information is extremely valuable to Universal Dynamics. With that, Vontra begins erasing Roj's memories. Meanwhile, Brightbill arrives at the ship with the entire flock. The geese start attacking the ship's glass windows from every direction. Brightbill dives at full speed, smashes through the cockpit window, and flies inside. During the impact, one of his wings is injured. Ignoring the pain, he desperately searches for Roj. At the same time, back in the forest, the other animals are trying to stop the wildfire. They rush to Beaver, who is already cutting down a massive tree that could redirect the river. Inside the ship, Brightbill finally finds Roj. Seeing her motionless breaks his heart. He desperately tries to wake her up, but she doesn't respond. Defeated, he sits beside her and softly says, None of this was your fault. Tears fill his eyes. Then, for the very first time, he whispers from the bottom of his heart, Mom? That single word reaches deep inside Roj's core. Her emotions overpower the memory wipe. And suddenly, Roj powers back on. Brightbill's face lights up with joy. Without wasting another second, the two of them race toward the exit. But Vontra spots them and blocks their path. She raises her weapon and fires at Brightbill. Roj instantly jumps in front of him, shielding him from the attack. Vontra coldly says, Our research is more important than your survival. At that moment, Roj launches one of her mechanical arms toward a nearby control lever. The lever activates a powerful magnetic field throughout the ship. Vontra is instantly pulled into the magnetic force and becomes completely trapped. As she struggles to escape, she says, As long as you exist, Universal Dynamics will keep coming for you. Seconds later, the overwhelming magnetic force destroys Vontra completely. Back in the forest, the animals work together with Beaver to knock a giant tree into the river. The rushing water changes direction, floods the burning forest, and finally extinguishes the wildfire. At the same time, Roj and Brightbill leap from the ship. They crash safely into the ocean below and survive. Seeing them alive fills every animal with relief and joy. But Roj knows the danger isn't over. She looks at everyone and says, As long as I stay on this island, Universal Dynamics will keep sending more search teams. Fenk immediately replies, Then we'll fight them every single time. Roj smiles gently and shakes her head. No, you won't have to. This time, I'll go back on my own. Brightbill is devastated. But they'll erase your memories. Roj smiles warmly. Not anymore, because I don't think with my processor anymore. She places a hand over her chest. Now, I think with my heart. She looks around at all of her friends. And the most important thing is, you've all learned how to live together. Fenk lowers his head, unable to hide his emotions. The bear steps forward and says, From now on, we'll take care of each other. Roj hugs each of her friends one last time. Before leaving, she promises, When the time is right, I'll come back. She rebuilds their home one final time so every animal will always have a safe place to live. Then Roj activates her return transmitter. Moments later, a Universal Dynamics transport ship arrives. And this time, Roj leaves with it willingly. The following winter, Every animal lives peacefully together inside the home Roach built. Predators and prey have learned to coexist like one family. Fink spends his evenings telling the young animals stories about Roach and Brightbill. And every migration season, Brightbill returns to visit her. The moment Roach sees him, she recognizes him instantly. Without saying a word, they run toward each other and share a heartfelt hug. And with that, the wild robot comes to a beautiful and emotional ending. If you enjoyed this movie recap, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more amazing movie explanations. Thanks for watching.